All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rabba Kakodash. Double honor to elder apostles, a great millstone who do rule well and taught me his truth. Peace and blessings also to you, brothers on the highways and byways, giving all diligence and make that calling in the election sure. And not just that, but also speaking sound doctrine. Okay. And also blessings to you very few sisters out there that are listening, learning, and believing. Okay. I'm that fellow labor Kanaka coming at you once again from the branch down here in Tampa, GMS Tampa down here in Florida. And the title of this lesson will be the inevitability of Esau's end. Okay? The inevitability of Esau's end. So Esau's end is inevitable. Okay? First and foremost, it was already prophesied and written. Okay? That his kingdom will come into power and that it will end. And by Esau Edom, he goes under the name, he identifies himself as white or European today. Okay? But his time to rule this planet Earth, all right, his end is inevitable, okay, and it's very close. So real quick, I'm going to touch on a topic that I've first person I heard speak on it was Elder Tahar. All right, and the second person, all right, I recall speaking on it was also the elder from Chicago, Elder Malcolm. Okay, so real quick, this is 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, and I'm gonna, it's gonna kind of be a quick video because I'm working against this weather. I can hear the thunder in the background. Storm probably coming. But 2nd Ezra 6 verse 7. It says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting of son of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? So the prophet Ezra here is basically asking what the disciples asked the Messiah, Yahushai, and St. Matthew's the 24th chapter. Okay, so Ezra is asking the same thing. It says, And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born. So you have in all great movies, you have the protagonist and the antagonist, the good guy and the bad guy. So Jacob, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, it may not seem like it right now, but this man is being revealed, okay, fully being revealed that he is the wicked one, okay, he is the antagonist. But for a long time, okay, it has been, the narrative has been painted that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans are the bad people, especially starting with the so-called black man, okay, and that the so-called white man is the good guy, okay? So it's all about Esau and Jacob, the main two characters. The other nations are just extras in the movie, okay? So it says, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. That was symbolic, which literally happened, but it was symbolic to Esau, Jacob bringing Esau down in these last days. So basically, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American man raising up and surpassing the so-called white man. Okay? It says, For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Now, Elder Tahar made a statement basically saying, this is some months back, that saying even if the Most High didn't come, even if Yahushua didn't come, we would take over anyways, because history has just proved that. Okay? And let's fast forward it till today, and we're going to actually get an account in history of us overcoming our enemies. Elder Malcolm, he also made a statement that, which this information just came out publicly, that the so-called white people, the Edomites, their numbers, their birth rate is decreasing. Okay? So basically, in so many generations that they won't exist. Their numbers are on a decline. You so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, you're just rapidly increasing having babies. So all this, what it is, Planned Parenthood, that's all geared towards you, okay, to bring your numbers down. That's why they always focus on women of color, because they're trying to keep your numbers very low because their numbers are declining. Now, going back to the point Elder Malcolm made some time ago, I think it was this year though, basically, uh, the police officers, judges, you know, politicians. Basically, if generations was to go by, it wouldn't be enough for them to fill those positions, and that's how Esau has been always able to keep Jake down, is by basically using the system to keep him down, using this structure that he has set up to keep Jake down. But all right, generations from now, it won't just by default, it won't be enough for them to be put in those positions. Okay, police officers, judges, politicians, so on and so forth. Okay, it just physically won't be enough for them to be put in those positions. So if more so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans get in those positions, okay, there will be so-called more justice. Okay, because they have their own kind in there, and it just won't so-called be uh, a racial weapon, if you will. All right, this system, because more so-called minorities will be in those positions of power. All right, so just by that alone, okay, us outnumbering them, even like Eltar said, even if the Lord didn't come back, we will eventually just take over. We will just outnumber them by default. Okay, so let's get example here in the scriptures. It's Exodus chapter 1 verse 6. I'm gonna start at 5. It says, and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Joseph was in Egypt already. So Jacob, all right, as it says, 70 souls came out of his loins. So we went into Egypt with only 70 souls and came out as a great multitude. Okay, and Joseph, our brother, was already there, and he was already in a high position. Okay, and that right there should tell you long, because once that the position Joseph was, what he did, he looked out for his brothers. Okay, so the same thing will happen in this Egypt, pursuant to Revelations 11 and 8, because this is spiritually Egypt. So the same thing will happen. The more so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians get in these positions of power by default, because the Edomites just can't fill those positions because there's not enough of them. The more of those so-called minorities that get in those positions, they're going to look out more for their people. Okay. Verse 6, it says, and Joseph died and all his brethren in all of that generation. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly. So if you go into something, and there's a huge market for these products nowadays. It's the word called libido, okay? And I wrote a little bit down, says, which means sex drive of the desire for sex varies dramatically from one person to the next. It also varies depending on a person's preferences and life circumstances. So consider the life circumstances in this account right here, okay? It says, and the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceeding mighty. The land was filled with them. So that's what's happening right now in this modern day Egypt. Okay? You so-called minorities, Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, you're outnumbering Esau. Okay? It says, now there arose a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph, and he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come and let us deal wisely with them. And today, those, a lot of that today is Planned Parenthood. Okay, that's that secret council that they took against us to try to keep our numbers low. That was birth control, condoms, all that. That was directly targeting so-called minorities. It says, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. Therefore they did set up over them taskmasters, it's like it, to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel, which basically just added fuel to the fire. Because if you are going to exercising, I want to say one of the main, the best testosterone building exercises is squats. Just exercising slakia overall builds up your testosterone levels. So you put more work on them, what it's going to do? Build up more testosterone. They're going to have more of a desire, basically, to want to lay down with the women. Okay? So it says, libido can be affected, slakia, varies depending on a person's preference in life and circumstances. So who's doing the hard work and hard labor? So Jake's libido, his desire, okay, is at an all-time high, man. Okay? They're in positions where they're constantly working, so they go home and, man, they get things done. Okay? Let alone Esau, what is he doing? He has all the comfort, most of the comfort positions here when it comes to the workforce. Okay? And also, too, the Lord just put that spirit on us to be fruitful and multiply. All right? But it says libido can be affected by medical conditions, hormone levels, medications, lifestyle, and relationship problems, which goes to show you it depends on your body too. So Jake is just far more superior than Esau biologically. Only reason why Jake is sick, so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans are sick because they aren't following the dietary laws. Their diets are very bad. They eat a lot of pork and they consume a lot of processed foods and chemicals. But they're biologically, they're far more superior than Esau. So their libido is high. That's why they have, once again, they have a market for these things. Testosterone boosters. All right? To support man's libido, his drive. Jake, man, the black and Hispanic Native American men, so-called, their levels are, you already know, man. Okay? They got high levels of that. So, we got an account in history how Israel just by default will outnumber their enemies. So that same thing is happening here. Okay? But the Lord, that's not how he's dealing. Okay? The Lord is not going the Lord is going to deliver us. We're not going to deliver ourselves. That's the point. Okay? So it's not going to happen like that. That physical point was just brought out to show that Esau's his end is inevitable. Because even if the Lord didn't come save us, which he has to, because this man is going to come down with great wrath. But the point being, even if the Lord didn't come save us, we would naturally take over. Which brings the point home that his end is inevitable. There's no way out for him. Okay? It's Isaiah 11, verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people. Okay, so we're not going to be delivered by our numbers, because if we were just take over by our numbers, by our own strength, then the Lord wouldn't get any credit. So the Lord is not going to deliver us by the way of numbers, man. Okay, just to bring that point home, the Lord is not going to deliver us that way. Okay, that's why it says a remnant. 2/3 of you are going to be cut off in the land over here in America. 2/3 of you are going to die. Okay? And the Lord is going to redeem a remnant. So why? He can get the glory. Okay? It says a remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. Because pursuant to many scriptures, but they like to use the New Testament and say the Gentiles were actually other nations, but the Gentiles was just Israelites that were scattered throughout the whole world. James 1:1 to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, greetings. Okay, it says from Cush and from Elam, from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. So the Lord is going to gather a remnant of those. We're not going to be saved by our numbers. We're going to be saved. We're going to be redeemed and saved or liberated. Because Jake think he's going to liberate himself. No, that's not the will of the Lord. The will of the Lord is to send his son, Yahushua, which is the omen, Yah meaning he, Yahushua deliver, or he saves, he's going to liberate us. He's going to redeem us. We're not going to be saved by our numbers. Okay? That point was just made just to show the inevitability of Esau's end. He's going to lose, man. There's no way out of it. He's going to fight tooth and nail to try to stay relevant, to try to keep his kingdom afloat. But his end is inevitable. Okay? That's why I saw the exhortation. This man is going out regardless. Okay? But the will of the Lord, okay, will be executed. That's the point. He says, my word shall not return unto me void. So the Lord is going to reach forth his hand a second time. Okay? It says, and he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. And that's the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians coming together. Ephraim was the head tribe of what you call the Indian tribes, okay, the Puerto Ricans. And Judah, so-called Negroes, was the head tribe of the Southern Kingdom. You West Indians, Haitians, and you American Negroes. So you are coming together by the way of this word. So we're being liberated by the words of the Lord, by the will of the Lord, by the power of the Lord. That's how we're going to be liberated. Okay? It says, but they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines, one of our arch enemies. It says, toward the west, they shall spoil them of the east together. We're going to do this together, man. The brotherhood of Judah and Ephraim, so-called Negroes, and Latinos, and Native American Indians are going to come together through the Spirit of the Lord. It says, they shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, the so-called Chinese, Edom, the so-called white people, and the children of Ammon, Japanese, shall obey them. And the Lord shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea. And with his mighty wind shall he shake his hand over the river, and shall smite it in the seven streams, and make men go over dry shod. And there shall be in a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day that he came up out of the land of Egypt. So it's going to be another deliverance as he delivered us out of Egypt, but this one is going to triumph that. It's going to overshadow that. Okay? But the point being, the inevitability of Esau's end. Okay? You so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Americans, the true biblical Israelites, those of you that believe we will be saved, and we're on Esau's hills, man. We're about to bring him down through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shemi Shai, and that's going to start with our Lord and Savior, Yahushua. Not no Jesus Christ, man. Yahushua. His name is Yahushua in the Hebrew. He was a Hebrew from the tribe of Judah. Okay? He wasn't Greek, so he didn't have a Greek name. So with that, Lord's willing was edifying. Till next time, Shalom.